Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Monday Night Football single game showdown for week 10 on DraftKings. And I've got a video where we're going to break down pretty much everything that I think that you need to know. And it's a really strange Monday Night Football game. Two in-division opponents from the Norris division, for those of you who are old school enough to understand what the hell that means. We're going to break down this game. We're going to look at the options on Minnesota, and we're going to look at the possible options that exist on the Chicago Bears for Monday night. The Bears are dealing with a lot of injuries. Basically, their entire backfield is hurt, and we have a lot of things that are up in the air to the point where I don't even know that I can give you a very accurate projection of a breakdown of exactly which guy is going to get what percent of the market share of rush touches for the Bears, but I don't know that they're all that important. Also, Allen Robinson's in a situation where he's questionable for this game and may sit it out. They do have a bye week the week after. The Bears are 5-4. This is an in-division game. It's one that they clearly want to win, but like, is the winning this game in the short term worth more than running Allen Robinson out there and getting a longer term injury when you can essentially give him a 2-week rest and then have the run in left to go after they come back from the bye week? So a lot of things to be decided here, and we have some value that could pop if Allen Robinson does sit. We'll know before lock whether or not that's the case. We have 90 minutes before that we'll get inactives. If he's active, we know what to do. We're going to set up our if-thens just in case he's inactive. So we're going to go about it. Thank you guys for showing up once again. I appreciate it. That you guys come back here every single showdown, every single day on twitch.tv, where I record most of these videos live, as well as showing up on YouTube and showing me the love that you guys do over here. Obviously, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and we do have the join button. If you wanted to get involved in our Discord channel, there's going to be a link down below to all my socials, including the Discord channel. We are now over 4,200 people strong in that Discord channel. There are subs only channels for those of you who are channel members here on YouTube that you can mingle and mix with all of the Twitch subs as well. And basically the conversation goes on 24 hours a day during NFL season. There's always somebody to talk about NFL with, or DFS with, or any sport in that Discord. So get involved, join up, and we'll meet you over there. As for now, let's take a look at what we got on this slate. DraftKings running its huge tournament as always. They've gone from $10 to $15. If you're more interested in getting in the mini-max tournaments, totally understand that. It doesn't matter what your bankroll is. I do think that you should be trying to learn how to mass multi-entry, especially on these single game showdowns, because you can get in with games that are 5 cent, 10 cent, 25, or 50 cents, depending on the size of your bankroll, and learn if you're going to be the next great MME player. Not everybody is a great mass multi-entry player, but it's something you have to learn. If you're hand building lineups for single entry, 3 max, or 20 max, totally understand that. I'm going to go through all the correlations that we need to talk about, as well as the news on this slate. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is really, really good. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. He's scoring points in absolute bunches with 30 plus DraftKings points in 3 of the last 4 games. Involved in the pass game, though he hasn't needed to be involved massively in the Vikings passing game recently, because he's getting it all done on the ground with 22 carries last week, 30 the week before, 27 against Houston in week 4 as he came off of that injury. And this is a while ago at this point on week 10. But when he goes completely bonkers, they don't need him to be involved in the passing game, but you do know that he gets all of those inside the 5 touches, which are the highest leverage touches that any running back can possibly get. So I know it's a tough matchup. I know that Chicago's a really tough defense, but Dalvin Cook is probably going to be the highest played player on this slate, and for good reason. As I mentioned in the intro, Allen Robinson, questionable for this game. He's got a knee issue. They do have a bye week coming up in week 11. They can give him 2 weeks off. If he does sit, then that means there's even more value on this slate. Darnell Mooney has moved into basically an every down role for this team, but then Anthony Miller would be the secondary pass catcher on Chicago, not including tight ends or anything. But then we also have a massive injury that's created a vacuum at this point, and that's David Montgomery, who is out. He's concussed, will not play on Monday night. So that leaves us a few guys that are in the picture, and that's Ryan Nall, Artavis Pierce, and obviously Cordarrelle Patterson is going to get a shot at running the football a ton in this game, but a ton in comparison to what he normally does. Not a ton compared to like Dalvin Cook's usage, right? But we're talking about he's going to maybe carry the ball 8, maybe 10 times. Maybe we'll get Artavis with like 5 or 10 carries. Maybe we'll get Nall with like the lion's share. I think personally, if I had to venture a guess on which one was going to get the most, I would assume that it would probably be Ryan Nall, but it could be Artavis Pierce. It could be the other, and they're priced to a point where it's not a layup either. So like if we look at the Bears pricing on this slate, right, Mooney is somewhat of a value, but he's where he is. Miller is an extreme value if Allen Robinson sits in this spot. Nall is up to 9,300 because we had this news on Montgomery pretty early. We also have Artavis Pierce down here at 2,700. If you believe that he's going to be the starter or carry the lion's share of the work, his price is there. And then Cordero, if he plays the majority of the snaps, or fills that more Tariq Cohen role, if that's more amplified this week, right? People thought that when Tariq Cohen went out, the Cordero was going to just step in and be that 5, 6, 7 target a game guy. We haven't really seen him be that. He's involved, but he's not super heavily involved, and he's 5,200 in the flex. Not sure that I really want any of these guys in my captain spot for this week, but let's talk about the captains. If Allen Robinson is healthy, he's going to be in that captain mix. Dalvin Cook clearly going to be in that captain mix. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins has not been outstanding because this has been a running team, and anytime that they get ahead, they just kind of pound the rock over and over and over again. On the road, this could be a situation where they're going to be a little bit more stifled on the ground, and theoretically he could have to throw the ball a little bit more in this spot. Nick Foles, Minnesota has given up the 5th most points to opposing quarterbacks on the season, so Nick Foles has been throwing the ball a lot. I kind of expect him to have to throw the ball a little bit more in this spot. One, I expect Minnesota to be fine offensively. If not, I'm not saying they're going to run away from Chicago, but like I expect them to be fine, and the Bears are going to have to put up points, and they're not going to be able to rely on their rushing game, I would assume, as much as normal, which means that we could see another 40 to 50 attempt game out of Nick Foles. So quarterbacks always pop as they're usually got a much higher median, but about a 30-point ceiling, especially with these two who don't really carry with them all that much rushing upside. I am going to correlate with Nick Foles. I'm going to make sure that I make one group, or I'm going to make sure if I'm building this by hand, that I've got at least 2 of his pass catchers in every single lineup where Nick Foles is going to be my captain, including all these guys. And if there's more that you believe are going to play, like, you know, I don't know, Ridley or whatever you come up with, you know, one of the backup tight end, the young kid Kmet, whatever. They're not all that heavily involved. I would not keep them out of lineups with Nick Foles, but I want the most heavily targeted guys, and it's basically this group. We're then going to build a bring back group with at least one of every player that's on Minnesota, including Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Thielen, Jefferson, who's been absolutely outstanding this year. I will include the kicker with their own captain, but not with the opposing captain. So I'm not going to include Dan Bailey in my Nick Foles at captain lineups, but I will include them if we're building Kirk Cousins at captain lineups. Same sort of situation. I'm going to build it around all the pass catchers. I'm not going to include Dalvin Cook in the Kirk Cousin at captain group. If he ends up in those lineups, fine, but I'm going to make sure that we get 2 of the pass catchers. So that means Thielen, Jefferson, Irv is going to be out, so we're not going to include Irv, and if he'll load, that would be outstanding. And any day now, DraftKings. There, let's just force it into Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph would see more snaps. Dan Bailey's going to be in that group. Kyle Rudolph will be in that group. Not going to include Madison or BC Johnson or Chad Beebe. It's a pretty thin tree, and considering how many times we see him throw, unless they get severely behind, or they're playing a team like Atlanta from 20 down, if they're playing Seattle where you have to throw to be effective, 20 to 25 attempts is very much the likelihood here for Kirk Cousins. High side being about 30 attempts. So I want to keep my groups on him pretty tight. And then we're going to bring it back with every single one of the opposing teams. If we have a pass catcher captain, I'm going to make sure that his quarterback is in there in every one of those pass catcher captain lineups. Same thing goes for Jefferson. Same thing goes if you're going to use Rudolph. I personally am not going to use Rudolph in a captain lineup because for me, I have to believe that a guy can be the highest scoring player on a slate. So my captain groups or my captain allocations are usually pretty thin. They're pretty narrow based on guys that I think can score 25 plus points on the night. So I'm not going to be going for like super cheap captains, because even if those super cheap guys, outside of somebody like Richie James a few weeks ago for San Francisco, which was a complete outlier situation where absolutely nobody else was healthy based on injury or COVID status for the 49ers, that put them in a spot where he was going to run a ton of routes. He was going to be on the field for like 95+% of snaps. And then a $400 player in captain makes sense. But most often, you're not going to see those guys go off for 25 or 30 points. If they score 10, it's an absolute smash game. And I don't know that we need that value. So if Allen Robinson is playing, and we find that out at inactives time, I'm going to make sure that Nick Foles is in that lineup. If he is out, I'm going to bump up my Graham. I'm going to bump up Mooney. I may even bump up Miller at captain just because of what else I can do with him. And if we feel that he's going to play 95% of snaps and possibly see 8+ targets, he's a very viable captain in the absence of Allen Robinson. The last group that we're going to build, depending on how you think this game's going to go, I typically limit to one each of the kickers and the defense. I make sure that I only have one of these. And I will tie the quarterback captain groups to their own kicker, or at least allow the kicker to pop in those groups. You add them in the group because the kicker is more correlated with the quarterback than most people think. So let's go over to Fantasy Labs. This is the site that I use for showdowns to build lineups. I've got my templates all set up here. You can change these range of outcomes. This is essentially shuffle. It adds diversification. It allows you to get more players. The lower the shuffle, the more it's going to stick to the projections. The higher the shuffle, so like if you put 10% for this range of outcomes, it's gonna, every time it reruns a lineup, it's gonna have a range. Instead of, say, if players got a 20-point projection, it's gonna put them between 18 and 22. So the wider that range, the more player exposures you're going to get. The narrower that range of outcomes, the less player exposure. It's going to focus on just having a ton of the best players. On Showdown, I keep it to one unique player, and then we have all those rules that I was just talking about. With any captain quarterback, I want to pair at least 2 of his wide receivers, tight ends, and kickers from the same team. With any captain quarterback, I want at least 1 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end from his opponent. Captain wide receivers, tie them to the quarterback from the same team. Captain tight ends, tie them to the quarterback from the same team, and limit to at most 1 defense and kicker from the same game. There are other rules and correlations and groups that you can do. You can boost players if there's 1 player in the lineup. You can limit players. You can decrease their projection based on certain correlations that you might want to build. You can make it so you don't have any more than 1 of those Bears running backs by building a player group around those 3. If we build Null at running back, not at captain, we build Artavis not at captain at 1.8K, and then we build Patterson as well, and we say, okay, well, have at most 1 of these, or at most 2 of these, and these are their flex plays. So it won't put more than 2 of these 3 guys in any one group. Apply the settings, head over here to the lineup generator, hit generate lineups, and as I said, as always, every single show, it's never as simple as log into a site, look at their vanilla projections that they have, and just click generate lineups by the projected points. I have it set to run by ceilings for this, and just think that you're going to upload them to a site and print money. That's not how this game works. That's never how this game has worked. So if you think that that's what's going to happen, you're just going to lose money way more efficiently. You have to spend time to make these optimizers dance the way that you want, to get the allocations that you want, to boost certain players, limit certain players, and make sure that you have the groupings that you desire. So the first thing that I'm going to have to do, as I said before, it's always going to give us more quarterbacks and captains than we want. I typically stick to 15% total quarterbacks unless there are outlier quarterbacks at my captains. You can see that it's already got us with 36.7% Nick Foles and 26% of Kirk Cousins. I'm going to set both of them to a max of 8%. Click save. We can run that again. And it's going to take a bunch of different runs before I'm happy putting these in. But join up with the Discord. There's plenty of people there to help you out if you're new to using an optimizer. Check out the links down below. Support the people that support us. And look out for another video right here.
He's a legend.